All right, fight fans from London to San Antonio, the big man here, Eddie Hearn. Eddie.
We're usually not here.
You know what? This is good news for me,
here.
right? Because I was just saying to you off camera, this card for me is one of the cards of the year. Yeah. And it's so good because you guys are here. People are acknowledging it. You know what I mean? The DAZN bigwigs looked here and they looked at it from head to bottom and they were like,
we got to get Akambrek.
All right, fair enough. It's an unbelievable card. Send Akambrek. You know what I mean? So it's great that you guys are here.
No doubt. Listen, Eddie, I mean, you obviously never sleep. What did you get out of the AJ fight in terms of the media, how London perceived it? I thought he looked a lot better. What was your take on everything while you was flying there?
We were just talking about the media. Like they're very harsh in the UK, as are fight fans. So we know what we want, and I can't lie about that because I tell other fighters that. Right. We want excitement. We want knockouts. So we've become accustomed over the years to AJ going in and knocking people out. As he's become I look back on the career of like Vladimir Klitschko around certain resets, around trainers and stuff like that. When I watched the fight back, I actually thought he boxed really nicely at times. There was loads of things that he needed to improve on. Yeah. Needed to be more aggressive. Needed to do more in the clinch. Needed to push him back more and not give him centre of the ring. Needed to be a little bit more sharp with his jab. Like loads of bits and pieces. But what I liked his positioning. I loved his defence. I mean, if you look at the stats, I think Jermaine Franklin threw over 300 punches, landed 50 or something like that. I thought he was slipping shots great. But also there was a lot on the line. Like if he lost on Saturday night, his career was over. So yeah, he was a bit tentative. And I don't think he's the naive, just like cannonball that he was years ago, where he used to go in the ring and just think, do you know what, I'm just going to go in there, let my hands go. Right. He realises that in the division, one mistake can cost you the night or can cost you your career. Right. So I think he's just going to box a little bit wiser as he becomes maturer. Don't expect every time to see Anthony Joshua go in 3 rounds, gas out after 4 rounds, get through 5 or 6 rounds. Like you're just going to see a more accomplished heavyweight. And I liked what I saw in a lot of places. And he wasn't over the moon.
I agree with you. I mean, I thought his defense was great. I keep saying it. I've been telling you all week. He caught so many so many left hooks from Franklin. And normally he'll might get hit with those shots. So I thought that was we just spoke to Robert Garcia, who said, hey, listen, you're not going to get it all together in one training camp. Yeah. I know I spent 4 months with him. He said he's one of the hardest. He's the hardest hitter I've ever been in there with. A couple of more fights, I think he'll be ready for any top level guy. What's on your agenda?
I think for me, at this point in his career, what he's talked about, I think he's got to be a little bit more selfish now. The easy thing to do is get the biggest fight possible for July, and we're not ruling that out. I spoke to Bob Arum the other day, phoned me and said, well, what are you thinking? We're open to looking at those fights. If we're being honest, in terms of getting him where he needs to be for those big fights, he definitely needs another fight. Right. And the one thing that we haven't done for, blimey, 7 years, he's had 3 fights in 12 months, right? And I think it'll be really beneficial to him to be active, to work with Derek James. And all the messages I'm getting from AJ are, I want to go back to camp in a couple of weeks and I want to fight at the end of July. Now, there are discussions going on behind the doors about Fury fighting in the Middle East in December, and even AJ fighting Wilder, and like loads of conversations. So for me, I see that being the next move. Fight in July with, I don't know.
White, maybe.
I think Dillian Whyte's a good option. Yeah. I think it's a dangerous fight.
Robert Garcia agreed with that.
Yeah, I think that's a good fight. There's other guys in the top 15. I'm not going to, I think it's just, you're better off being honest and saying, look, this is where we're at. Right. I need him to have another fight with a level slightly above Jermaine Franklin, to gel with Derek James, hopefully going there with a little bit more confidence to prepare him for Fury or Wilder in December. Do you know what I mean? We're not ruling that out. We'll look at those. If a big offer comes in or a big site comes in, unlikely in July. But I just really want to see momentum. And I like people have got to understand, when you talk about desire, this guy has got so much desire still. Like literally after the fight, all he's been doing is analysing his performance, talking to people, watch. And I think part of him enjoyed Saturday night because he got back to winning ways. Right. He hasn't won for nearly 3 years. Right. Yeah. And you can hype it up as much as you want. And he said, I'll tell the media that, my career's over if I lose. He knew deep down his career was over if he lost that fight. So sorry for not taking too many chances in that fight.
But let's be honest, that was a dominant performance. I only gave Jermaine Franklin 2 rounds.
Listen, I love Dillian Whyte. Right. But when you're saying, he didn't look very good, Dillian Whyte had a very, very close fight that, in my opinion, I thought he edged, but you're talking about 115, 113.
And Dillian Whyte couldn't stop him, and people are mad that Joshua didn't stop him.
But AJ dominated him.
Yes,
he really
absolutely.
did dominate him.
Right.
So you can't really win, but people want to see him be a bit more aggressive. But also the start, the style wasn't ideal for AJ. Much shorter guy with quick hands and good defense. And I think Franklin was trying to survive a little bit in the back end of the fight as well.
I do.
Took some
I
decent
agree with
shots.
It's a hard guy to fight, but I don't want to make this to the Anthony Joshua show. This is Jesse
Yes.
Rodriguez's weekend. I think that he should have stayed at 115, but he is at 112 now. There's a lot of great guys there. This guy, Gonzalez, is not that great, but after that, you got 3 legitimate champions. Do you think he's going to stay here at 112 to be undisputed, or is that what you want for him?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the opponent this weekend, he's the mandatory. Really, he was the number one.
I don't know how he became the WBO mandatory. Not
he-
fighting great opposition. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? To be honest with you, there isn't a lot of depth in the
In that-
division. Like
yeah,
you're
you're-
not going to hear
that's a good
about the
point.
guys that he went through to get to number one.
I got you.
Because you hear you're definitely not a casual fan, but if you talk about the audience at home,
Right.
they know Jesse, Chocolatito,
Yeah.
Estrada, Sonny
Right.
Edwards,
Right.
Julio Cesar Martinez,
Oh,
and if you haven't boxed one of them,
Damn.
you're irrelevant. Do you know what I mean? So this guy, very tall, will give it everything. But I want to see the performance. I mean, Robert Garcia talks about Jesse going even down to light fly, right, to win a world championship down there. He's going to start finding that difficult on his body
Yes.
after fighting at 115.
Yeah.
So for me, the fight, and we need to stop beating around the bush about this. Sonny Edwards.
IBF.
It's a unification. We do that fight in July in the US.
In the US?
Yeah, because listen, Jesse Rodriguez has established himself as a young star in the sport of boxing. He was nearly 2022 Fighter of the Year. He was some people's
I voted for him.
Fighter
I
of the
voted
Year.
for him. Yeah.
And Sonny does not care. Like that fight is much bigger in the US than it is
He's
in
been
Europe.
talking a
but
lot of
Sonny
smack.
don't care where the fight is, by the way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
Sonny's ready to go. There's been a lot of backwards and forwards. I've heard an
yeah.
interview and
Yeah.
from our conversations with Robert and Jesse,
Yeah.
they're ready to walk into that unification.
Oh, yeah,
next.
Jesse
But how
told
is
us-
it for you, though, as a promoter of both fighters? You're like, God.
He's been there
Listen,
before. He's
at the end
getting
of
used
the
to
day-
it.
I know that, but
What I've learned in this business is there is absolutely no point trying to be popular, right?
Yeah.
So what I do is I pay you as much money as I can, and I give you the best opportunities I can, and I
that's
put you
it.
both in a ring,
But Eddie,
and I
what-
say, do you know what? If you don't like me, no does anyone else.
But Eddie,
So off you go.
get on the line.
But,
Get on the line.
but,
But what was the hardest, though? What was the hardest scenario with 2 fighters that you really cared about, that it was tough to negotiate?
Loads of
Loads of
fights.
them.
Like even go back to like Callum Smith against Rocky Fielding,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Like fights like that where it's like,
You love them both.
yeah, and you're in Liverpool. They're both from Liverpool.
Damn.
Right.
And you're sitting there. And the worst thing about a fight like that is you can't show any emotion. One, because genuinely you don't really.
Yeah, how do you jump up and down when Callum Smith wins?
But that's what I love.
Yes.
And I live for, honestly, like
Yeah,
that for
you're
me.
a real fight fan.
And so when we make Sonny against Bam,
Bam. Yeah.
I'm there just because I'm just so pleased to see the fight.
You're like,
But
oh,
what I
okay,
can't- but
very
I can't,
good, very good.
I can't go get out,
Yeah.
because I've done it before in fights.
You do
where
it
I've
all the
got
time.
Up, no, but even when I had 2 guys fighting each other,
Oh,
Right.
wow.
and I've just got up to
And then
clap.
you catch yourself like,
And
wait
the
a minute.
fighters messaged me and gone, I saw you clapping. when I'm like, I just got up,
It's happened to me before too, so I get it.
It's really
That's
hard. Hey,
tough.
listen, John Ryder. I mean, probably the best example was Canelo against Dimitri Bivol.
Right.
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 Yeah, that was.
Only last year, I had
Yeah,
both
Frank
guys.
Smith on that
Yeah,
side
but
and you was on the
in
Canelo
the
side.
end, you're better off in that situation. I'll just be honest,
100%.
right? I say to Dimitri, listen, Canelo's my guy.
Right.
Frank loves you, so that's how it's going to be. But then after that, when
That's
you
better.
get in the ring,
Honesty
you go,
is better.
Dimitri, and he goes, oh, see you later. You know what I mean? So this one's similar to that. And again, John Ryder against Sal coming up. I've represented John Ryder for over 10 years.
Yes.
Like, so I can't tell you that if he beats Sal, I couldn't feel some warmness in my heart.
Right,
but
right.
that one Sonny against Bam is just one where I go, boys, like this is the ultimate opportunity for you. This is a
Just go do your best.
yeah, and this is a pound for pound
Well,
fight.
speaking of pound for pound, look, Bam is, in my opinion, one of the best fighters in the world, right? 115, his brother's there. He doesn't really want to be in that division. He wants his brother to shine. That's how good of a kid he is. But he says he can go up to even 118 eventually, and so did Robert. He's young. I mean, what's the potential that Bam Rodriguez has as a promoter? Like, can he be top 3 pound for pound one day?
Yeah, I think that, going through the weights is always dangerous. And I feel like some special talents have sometimes got beat by going through the weights, and they've had to do it to get beat. I look back at Vasily Lomachenko. He's not really a lightweight. You know, if he would have stayed at feather and super feather, I don't think he would have ever got beaten in his prime. Inoue is another good example. I'm looking at Akhmadaliev and going, you know what? If this guy beats Tapales, and obviously Fulton's fighting Inoue, I like Akhmadaliev's chances against Inoue because I feel like up at super bantam, that you're going to start getting beat. So I don't want to do that with Bam. He's still a young fighter. Listen, I love the Estrada fight, right? I love the Chocolatito fight, even though they're both, you know, with Tekken in parts. I love the, you know, the fight with Julio Cesar Martinez. But for me, let's try and do what we love to do, which is find out who the best is in the division. So let's see if Jesse wins on Saturday, make him against Sonny Edwards. Julio Cesar Martinez boxes in Guadalajara, put him in with Dalakian, who is the other champion in the WBA, and the winners fight the winners. And by December, we have one champion in the flyweight division. And
so you got it laid out already.
Yeah, but I mean, we're playing fantasy boxing.
Well, when Jesse wins Saturday, when does Sonny Edwards and Jesse Bam Bam
in July?
In July.
Yeah, in July. I mean, we'll look at both, but you know, the zone of they like that fight. Jesse does great business for him here as well. Sonny doesn't really care.
Will it be back here in San Antonio?
Possibly.
It just makes sense if it's going to be in the U.S.
But also, you know, I think it's good.
Could Vegas hold something like that, or maybe California?
It's good to take Jesse, you know, around. I think Jesse, you know, we've only got a 3,000 arena on Saturday. It's packed out.
Right.
But at the same time, we can box him around. We can box him in California. We can box him in Vegas because he's now becoming recognised as a pound-for-pound talent.
Well, listen, we're looking forward to it, as always, Mr. Eddie Hearn.